how come it's sideways? Did you do that, Matterator, or is that's cool? It is though.
No, that's normal. I just put it up. There you go. You're good.
So we're live, right?
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah. Let's give him hell, Matterator. Wait, I
No,
can't see
yeah,
myself.
yeah. I mean, we were talking about how
Yeah.
I love it that people, and I'd love someone in the comments to answer this for me.
Yeah.
People come to your channel where you fully advertise who you are and are transparent, right?
Right. Right.
And then they proceed to complain about who you are.
Uh huh.
And it's kind of like, kids on the short bus to school.
Yeah. Which.
Basically, they're on a bus, let's say, full of retards, and they're arguing with all the they're arguing with all the retards in the bus.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that you're here in the comments
Yeah.
complaining
Retard. To the retards here.
de facto makes you a retard. Now, I'm perfectly happy being retarded. Like, I accept that. That's
I,
just
I,
me.
I'm a I'm,
You know what I
I'm a
mean?
bastard evil guy that's also a retard.
So,
Bastard evil retard at the back
but
of the short bus.
it just, oh my God, it just makes me, I just love it. It's like, the reason why I like it is because I like kind of retarded stuff. So,
Yeah.
for people to come
Well,
in and like get the more serious they get about it, like, and
yeah.
the more
More
worked up they get,
retard they
the
are.
the the more uh, the more fun I have with it.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And let's go over some of the other complaints. So the
Yeah.
latest one I saw where it got a real reaction is you're advertising your pedal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the whole idea and the reason why I like hanging out with you, Jimmy, is that
Yeah.
you're a little out there. But you know that.
I didn't say
And
that.
we've talked about it. Like, you're actually kind of like, it's weird. It's an amalgamation of, like, you're kind of aware that you're kind of out there, like, you know you're different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would
Well,
argue that most lead singers and most people that are in music, and there's a saying that goes, "Your lead singer, there's a little insanity to it because no one sane gets up there and does that or gets out, puts themselves out there. Most
but yet
people
those people are
can't do
great.
that.
Yet those people are great people that go down in history for what they did. David Lee
Yeah,
Roth, Ozzy Osbourne, can I go on? Don Dokken, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Freddie
yeah,
Mercury. They're all nutcases. Robert
yeah.
Plant, but they're in history. Where are you?
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is there's a lot of other minor characters too, and
Oh yeah.
they just did what they did,
And
and
you
people
tell
do what they do, you
I
know.
try to I try to I try to I try to channel the
Well,
New York.
yeah. So anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, it irritates people, and I find it kind of funny because I think in many ways there's a spiritual vessel within people, and when they don't fill it with some sort of whatever you call it. Um,
Yeah. Book,
they fill it with
Bible.
other things, and one of the things they fill it with is their gods are like somehow their guitar gods sometimes.
Yeah, like
And
Jimmy
and then
Page, you just
if
can't
you
beat
don't
it.
play if you don't play their incantations in their holy book properly, in other words, i.e., whoever their famous rock and roll person is,
Yeah.
somehow it's looked upon as like very sacrilegious.
Yeah.
So they take extreme there's an extreme revulsion to anything that you do. The
Can
other
I
thing
can I
too is I was
yeah.
thinking the act of creation is very much like the act of the creator. If we're made from the creator, that isn't it
Mm.
true we also like to create? But the
Yeah, so I'm
problem is when you're trying to be like the creator,
you're considered
people
blasphemous.
people find that somehow obnoxious deep
Well,
down and they have to strike out against it, but they don't realize that they're doing that to themselves. When
yeah.
people gatekeep and they shoot down other people's idea, That's actually tells you more about them. They're actually shooting down their own ideas. And then if you go to their channels, all they're doing is they're not doing anything new. They're just doing their own kind of like cordoned off stuff. They're not getting crazy or a little nuts. Now, people complain about a lot of things, but they can't complain that you are the same. Like you are different. You do things through your own lens, and of
Yeah.
course that bothers them.
Can pretend that I'm making my point, make my
Yeah.
argument or my defense on all you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, first of all, who was Jimi Hendrix emulating when he did Jimi Hendrix? Was he emulating
Oh, they
the
hated him.
gatekeeper?
The
Yeah, they
Rolling
hated him.
Stones manager wouldn't sign him, thought he was garbage.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
was your god Jimi Hendrix? Who was his god? No, he did him. Jimi Hendrix was himself. That's
Well,
what made. And
I
I'm
would
doing.
argue, look, even distortion. If you want to look at distortion, distortion was if you look at early forms of distortion, like the flamenco guitar, that
Yeah,
predates that predates amplifier distortion. And
right.
literally the guitar was really a street instrument. It was never an official, it was a street instrument.
It was
And
never a
the
studio orchestra.
reason that happened is they took a shitty old guitar and they started playing street music, and they liked the way the frets buzzed. So to this day, if you go to Guitar Center and you get a flamenco guitar, the difference between a flamenco guitar and a classical guitar is the action. The action's lower on a flamenco, so you get the fret buzz. What is fret buzz? Fret buzz is distortion. So even way back then, hundreds of years ago, distortion was a thing with the gypsies in Spain, but it wasn't like it was frowned upon. Then when the
Yeah,
amplifier came out, they found out, the amplifier was designed to be clean. It wasn't designed to be
they made a mistake and overdrove
distortion. That was a
some guy.
mistake. It was someone turning the knob all the way up, overdriving it, and then it gave the tube started to clip, and most people don't like it at all, you know. And at the time, it was looked down upon, but Chuck Berry and the rest, they ended up making it sound like really cool, which influenced other
Yeah,
people. Now, if you look
yeah.
on pedal boards, like half the pedals are distortion pedals. Like distortion is like a thing, especially for rock and roll. So it's a classic example of people like trying to gatekeep things, and they literally don't realize that everything they're currently doing, which is in their standard holy dogma of guitar playing, was a mistake at one point
And was not accepted at one point, and
and
was
was
done by
not
people that
accepted at one
and
point.
was done by people that weren't being someone else. They were being them, and that's what I do. You want to say that I have no right to do Jim Morrison? Well, I'm being him. I can sing his songs because I do it my way. I do it in my heart, and I do what he did, which is I just express myself creatively, personally, and emotionally in my art. And you want to take that from me? Keep trying. Good luck. I've been doing it 43 years,
Yeah,
and I ain't
yeah.
doing it.
So this other guy brought up Ed Sheeran, which he's a guy that has a beautiful voice. He sung in Game of Thrones for a little bit too. Like he's a UK guy, and he
Uh,
has a lot of crossover appeal because he 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 plays like a standard. He doesn't play electric guitar. He just plays a standard. He has good songs. He's a talented guy, right? So he has
mhm.
a lot of crossover appeal. But um, what's funny about him, and it doesn't matter. It could be Bono. It could be anyone. No matter how good you are, you're going to have people that freaking hate you and hate your
Yeah,
music.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a certain percentage of people, even with Ed, even though he puts out a lot of good music, and I happen to, I, no, I'm not like a huge fan. Like I don't go and what, but the songs I have heard of him are really nice, and you can totally see like why he's popular, and there's a crossover appeal, right? Because he's a
Right.
talented guy, but that doesn't mean that there isn't room for like the
People to hate
Sex
him.
Pistols, the New York Dolls, the Gigi Allen. I went live to a Gigi Allen concert in '93. I saw him break up the whole place, and it was the most rock and roll I've ever seen. Rock and roll, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And
and you
and
know
there's
what?
rare few people I've seen that guy live, but people hated him. Clearly, there was like he only had maybe a 5% fan base.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
still, you can still kind of argue it. He was the
you know
id
what?
of rock and roll.
You know what, you guys? I don't
Yeah,
mean to point. It seems rude sometimes. I'm rock and roll, not just because of I play rock and roll, but not only that, because but I play it my way and I'm rock that way. But I'm also rock and roll because rock and roll was about rebellion against authority. It was about a rebellion against your parents. It's about I want to go to the concert. My fucking parents won't let me out of the room. It was that
yeah.
rebellion that
Well,
went hand in hand with it.
let's talk about your style, because what people don't understand is they think we just kind of get together and blah blah blah. We've had many hours. How many hours of conversation we had about this topics
I don't know.
offline?
I don't know. Let me
We
just start.
talk about art in general, and people may find that hilarious or whatever, but there's a part of you that you like the frenetic shredding.
I do.
Whether people like it or not, that's kind of like what you
It,
bring and kind of
it
what you're
it's
known
kind of
for. So
it's kind of what
yeah.
I do
And
de
so no matter
facto.
what production I bring into it, like the music that we've produced for you, people may not like it. Okay, that's fine. Some people kind of get it. There's always a humorous twist to it. Okay.
Well,
So
that's fine with me.
and
But you know what?
part of the humor is that we take it seriously. But there's no other way to do it. We take it seriously, and yeah, you running around a shopping cart, okay?
Yeah.
We,
Well, I put.
but there's a humorous side to that too. It's not
Well, you
just
know what?
straight,
In defense of, I watch some Willard videos, and every time I do, I actually put a like on it. I think I'm even subscribed to him, and I think it's funny. I can't watch that. One reason I don't watch them too much is I don't like to laugh too much. It just doesn't. It's not my mojo. But I watch a video, with what he's with this guy Willard doing me, and I just laughed the whole time. I couldn't stop laughing because I do find humor in myself. That Frank Zappa had a lyric. There's nothing left to laugh for, not even ourselves. If you can't laugh at yourself, you're probably nuts or you're boring. It's okay to
yeah.
laugh at yourself, but I just don't want to sit there laughing at
Yeah,
myself all day.
one thing I
That's
noticed about
funny.
you is we do think about it, and I've been very transparent with you. Whether it's running around a shopping cart or doing whatever, I'm like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is the way it's perceived. Now, you have a little difficulty with that because of the whole autism spectrum, you
I,
know.
I don't I don't have a filter that says no, I can't go that far.
Yeah.
I don't have that. When he said go around the
And
shopping cart,
you tend to have more of a focal, because and people don't understand that neurodivergent aspect that you have is that you're very routine oriented. You always go on your walks.
yeah,
If
I do
things take
routine
you out of
because
your
I don't
routine,
have anything else I can count on because I'm so
or
wild
like
that
when we've gone to go eat a burger or what have you, and
oh
the
yeah,
order
I
gets
get
wrong, you'll
I'm
kind of
all I'm
flip
all
out a
that
little
wasn't the
bit.
order. I know I have I
You'll
do like
go,
order.
what, what happened, so, and I think, and that's very much on that spectrum, that
Yeah.
if people
What
don't have
where where
experience
where
with that.
what
Yeah,
actually, a lot of people are so further on the spectrum, they can't let anybody touch them. Now, I'm not that far. I like that, but we realize that touch for me is 3 times what it is for you because I'm just on that spectrum.
yeah,
So hence, I'm very physical. I feel like 3 times what most of you feel, just physically. I can feel a ladybug land on my hand, and I can feel when it leaves. I'm very
yeah,
sensitive. So
and
yeah, I have that side to me.
yeah, that's another reason. What people don't understand is that that's another reason to be true to yourself. Now, I think the message of the channel would be that if Jimmie can be true to himself and get out there and as nutty as you can be,
Anyone
why
can.
can't they do the same thing?
Yeah, why can't you do what I? Hey, I wasn't gonna say
Yeah,
this, but you know what?
yeah,
My content is what it is. You may like it, may hate it, but at least I'm not making my content over hate, who apparently is actually controlling my content, but I'm giving them negative energy and making. If it weren't for me, there would be no Willard. He doesn't
look,
do anything else.
if they think your channel is the short bus, okay,
Mhm.
then
Why
what
are
they're
they
doing
talking
is
about
they're
it?
getting on the short bus and arguing with everyone on the short bus that they're retarded.
But you're on
But
the short
the
bus. You
mere
argue.
fact that they're on the in the short bus and arguing on the internet makes them a retard. And the reason why they're a retard is they don't realize they're being retarded. Like
Yeah.
if you literally, if it's not for you and you go to step on a short bus and you see a bunch of kids with helmets on or what have you, And if you choose to join in on that, well, like,
You're a retard.
then then you're kind of retarded.
Right.
And for you to sit back and go, but I'm not. It's like the penguin in the crowd in the Far Side thing where he's, I just gotta be me. It's like, no, man, you aren't. You're like, don't go on a long paragraph
And
diatribe on how
yeah.
Jimmie doesn't know this and that and blah blah blah. It's like, no. Like, why are you there? That's more about you.
Yeah,
Like,
first of all, you
yeah.
almost people say shit about me that can't be proven and is totally untrue, which makes them be able to get away with saying it because there's I can't prove it wrong. They can't
Well,
prove it
we
true. But
we've
they can just
we
say
took
shit.
control of that. You can't, just like TikTok. You can't, if you go to TikTok's very well policed. If someone goes to a live on TikTok,
Yeah,
they're responsible for the comments. So if someone's putting in like a bunch of nigger comments in there and all that, within about 10 minutes, that live gets canceled. So
right.
typically, what you need moderators. So a lot of content
Yeah.
creators on TikTok, especially when you get popular, they usually have 3 or 4 moderators in there that
Hey,
kick people.
can I make an
Yeah,
ad about that? So
yeah.
right now the Matterator is my editor. He's a full editor. The only thing above that is owner, and that's me. Oh no, there's manager. He's not a manager, but you're a high. No, you are a manager. No, you're an editor, right?
Editor,
Well,
that's
anyway,
fine. Yeah.
he's an editor. There's also manager. There's also owner. But first of all, I like to share. I have that nature. I have the nature. I'm not like all. If we can find some of you that can help moderate the channel, like the moderator does, because I don't have the time for it. Eventually, the moderator may not even have time. I welcome anyone who's a sincere fan of mine that really wants to help to ask the moderator if they can be included, and I'll include you as an editor too. I was going to say limited editor, but let's kick it up a notch. You'll be equal to the moderator if you just prove to him, not to me. I'm a snowblower. You just blow right over me. I don't know anything. You can snow me anything.
Yeah,
But if you convince
my
the
take,
moderator,
it'd be great to have some moderation, like when we go live, and someone to
yeah,
help go in and kind of comb
yeah, you
through the
get
comments. Like, here's the
if
thing,
you
we
if
talk about this. We don't mind someone that comes in and says, you suck nuts, or you're this or that. Like, you don't have a problem with that. Like, obviously, it's
yeah,
kind of like you tend to kind of tailor your conversation, as we are right now in our live, towards the haters.
right,
And the fact is, the majority of people that tune in don't make a comment at all. They're just,
right.
they're passive.
Well, I have far
And
more.
it's
I have
important to
far about
recognize that.
yeah. Well, I have
But
a
having someone, you also can't let the, just like TikTok, you can't let the messaging get out of control. And for many months, you were doing that. You were letting you, because you're Aspie, you're kind of like not realizing the damage that they're
right.
doing to you. And we talked about this. So,
Yeah,
um, you know, you have to kind of nip those things in the butt,
yeah,
or else
and I
what ends
have
up happening is they end up controlling the narrative. Now, like I said, we don't want to take
and,
away the negative
and
comments, but at a certain
yeah,
point,
and like I said,
if there's
I'm
false
so
accusations, those have to be nuked.
yeah, and I'm so naive and trusting and wanting to see the good in things. I've often unblocked everybody, but I'm not doing that again. The matter made me realize I'm not going to do that. It's his job to moderate. If he blocks it, it's blocked. Sorry, you go through him. You want me to unblock you? Talk to him. And we
Yeah,
like
there's
others.
this one guy I followed on YouTube for a while. He was part of this motorcycle channel. He just put up instructional videos. The guy's very good. And after a while, he came in. He said, I got to take a break from this channel because of my mental health. Because he had a
And then
bunch of ego cockfest motherfuckers getting on there, basically just making rude comments, and it was really kind of getting to him because you put a lot of time and effort, and people don't see it, even though they make fun of you for your lives and stuff. You actually study before you go live. You go over it, you practice, and
you
then you
guys
do
better
your thing. You're fighting with
yeah,
the sound quality, you're fighting with all these things, but kudos to you. You're putting the time to do that. You're doing something they don't have the balls to do. So
yeah,
don't
and then
sit
maybe
back, go out of your way to that's telling people more about your own frustrations, because most people are
yeah,
happy in their lives. They're not going to go
yeah,
out of their way to make someone
yeah,
else unhappy,
yeah,
you know.
Willard, whoever you are, if you take a look at yourself. Michael
Yeah,
Jackson. I'm looking at the man in the
yeah.
mirror. Look at yourself. If you want to make a world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change.
Hey,
You're not gonna,
Sir John Cool's in. He's one of our top fans. We like
we
this
love
guy.
Sir John Cool. Thank you. I know I've had my issues with you time to time, but that's why I ask you. Don't blame me.
Yeah, yeah. You'll read. So what people don't understand is you're very literal. So
I'm
people
very
will
just
send
cut
you
and
some
dry. You
emails,
said
they'll
it.
send you things, and you literally sometimes, depending on your sleep level, take it for real.
I
You know
don't
what I
know how to
mean?
I don't know how to put a show on that's not genuine. So I give that credit to everyone else who doesn't deserve it. And a lot of times, but that also means if they're just putting a if they're being funny with me, I don't know. I just don't get it that way. I get whatever they read. I take it literally. I can't read between the lines. I just read what's in front of me.
Yeah.
But
And
you actually
so we call it, as you and I have discussed, everyone has a superpower. My
right.
superpower is I'm stubborn. So if I get on something,
You're
and
not gonna
there's times
you're not gonna
yeah,
you're not gonna
there's
out
times that can be beneficial where, like a pedal project, like I can see it through and I'm very determined, right?
right,
Or a
right.
music project, like I could complete a whole music thing because I'm very stubborn and determined. But if it comes to my relationship with my wife, there's times where that's counterproductive. Like you can't be stubborn with human beings. So you
Yeah.
learn that. You learn that. And with you, like I said, you have your own, one advantage to having like no filter as far as being able to
Oh,
people's in guess people's motives, and to have that ask where you're literally blind to it, is that it opens you up to do whatever you want. You're kind of like a free spirit that way. You literally
I
just walk down the street, shirt open, like you see
yep. And
nothing wrong with your
not,
sexuality.
and to
Yeah.
go back to kissing death. I literally we just found a homeless encampment. It was like a shopping cart full of a homeless person's house basically, and then Matter said,
An active
"Yeah,
homeless person.
I could have shown up any minute. He could have come home and shot us both." But I was running. He told me run around it, which I did. He said, "Now act like a fentanyl addict." And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "It's this drug. They do it like this." He taught me. He literally taught me, so I pretended to be shooting up fentanyl, and I did it the way the Matter said. And then the Matter said, "Now run down that as long and as far and as fast as you can. I'm gonna have a drone chasing you. No
Yeah,
problem
and
with
what's
me."
funny is I guarantee you if I got together with any other person probably on this channel and tried to
Yeah,
help
Mojo that
them with
out of him.
music or make a music video, and I told them to dance on a shopping cart, they would argue with me. Oh, I have a better idea, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that.
Well, he's my producer, and I
Yeah,
trust him. And he produced the
and
video.
that's
He
one of
said,
the reasons why I like it is we come out with crazy music, whether you like it or not.
"We're
Now,
different."
Crash and Burn was a little out of control because I tend to be more keyboard oriented and all that. That went a little more less rock and roll, which wasn't the main part of your audience. But
Right. I even deleted it last week.
that's what inspired me at the time, so you kinda have to go with,
I know. I put it
and
back on. I
I like
deleted.
to throw it the thing is too is it's better to be unpredictable. One thing you can say about our time together in our videos, people may not like them, but in some
Try to
ways,
predict.
they're unpredictable, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's it,
Matter,
you know?
the Matterator made a point a long time ago to me. He said that there's survival value in society for people like me, that because people like me keep us evolving spiritually. As a race, if all we have is plumbers, we would do good. We would have all the plumbing, but who's going to lead us into another spiritual space where people can have good
Well,
lives with
I
each
think
other?
it's healthy for society to have your artistic people running around, and
Keep everybody that doesn't
even though I lean more conservative, obviously, which we've talked about. I
have
have a
right.
side of me that also is very, when it comes to art and creating, I don't
No,
believe in
no,
any
no
gatekeeping.
gatekeeping. No
But the
gatekeeping. Right.
fact is, it was the left side of the fence with Al Gore and Tipper Gore that passed all of these laws that prevented, that had to have warning labels on CDs.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the UK right now, you have a very left leaning government that's basically locking people up for free speech. So I would argue that it's the left that is more restrictive now than the
and,
right. There's no
and
humor. There's no humor on the left. You can't call anyone a retard. There it's
see,
more it's more there's more humor now on the right, and there's more freedom on the right
I
now.
want to comment something.
I'm not talking about this extreme right. I'm
Right.
talking about, right of center. They're
Yeah, I
not
want to talk.
nuts.
I
Yeah.
want to. Since you mentioned that,
Yeah.
I am in contact with Donald Trump. On my channel and my profile got the White House's attention. I texted the number with the code, and I have a line to him. And the more, and I even was upfront with him from the get. I didn't vote for you, Donald, but I have an open mind. Let's see what we can.
Yeah, but that's you though taking things literally. You know me, I'm a skeptic with that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Anytime you get an email from someone like that, I'm not saying you're not important. I'm not saying that at all.
right.
I though tend to be a skeptic when it comes to those type of
Well,
things.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you could be right. You could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just talking.
Exactly. You go with the flow. That's part of your
Yeah,
charm.
I wrote the
I
flow,
accept
and
that.
and at least I'm
Yeah.
upfront. Whoever I'm talking to, Donald or otherwise, I'm upfront with him. I said I didn't vote for you, but
Look, look,
I'll talk.
that's part of your spectrum of what you bring. And I think that kind of throws people off or scares
Yeah.
them, right?
But
But
it's funny.
look, that's part of you being transparent. It's part of your reality. And you're not unusual. There's many people that that go through or think like you, and are they just supposed to be shunned and not listened to? No, they're
Yeah,
part of the art.
yeah.
They're part of
Well,
the guitarist community. They're part of the
yeah.
art community, and they have a
And you know
voice
what?
too.
And you know what? The haters have um, profoundly said I'm not being transparent based on their idea that if I don't do what they say, I'm not being transparent. But screw you. I'm being transparent to what I feel, not with what you feel. You know,
Look, those people are going to have a problem, because if
yeah,
they're so worried about you, what they
yeah,
have to understand is they've swallowed the poison pill. They've literally chosen the wrong pill, the wrong reality. Because the
yeah,
reality is they should be doing things to uncover their true reality. The
yeah,
problem is with most people, we have all of these coatings, kind of like an M&M, you know.
yeah. With
We
shit
have all
inside.
these
Oh
coatings
shit! I
on
got oh
us
shit!
and all
You had
these
to talk
layers.
with
The
my
thing
oh man, I
is
got
you,
shit
because
again.
of your spectrum that you're on,
I
you
just don't.
don't have certain layers. So the
I just
bottom
yeah,
layer is exposed. So a
I'm
lot
just
of the stuff where they accuse you of being self-centered and all that, let's face it, most people are self-centered in that
they're
way.
just they're just coating it with candy on the outside so they can be socially
So you
acceptable.
just coming out and just doing your thing, you're literally just doing your thing. You see nothing wrong with it because you have no filter that way. So
No
in that
filter.
way, you make a great artistic muse. You make a great person actually to do art with, because
Mhm.
when I
Thank
come up
you.
with crazy ideas, you don't shoot them
I
down
go
at
with it.
all. You know what I
I
mean?
go with it. All they do is think if I like to, if I like the idea, and usually I do. And I just go, okay, what do we have to do? Where do we go?
Yeah,
Nate, when and what? I just do it. That
yeah,
almost is the definition of art. If you're not doing that,
yeah.
maybe you're not doing art in the first place. Maybe you're doing something scientific or lawyer-wise or management-wise or government-wise or whatever. But you're not doing art. Art means using your creativity and making it a practical product out of it. And if you're not willing to do that, maybe you're not an artist. And maybe you should respect me for being one, even though you don't get me. At least I'm doing art. Is it really art, Willard? For you to make?
Again, we're addressing the haters, and there's a lot of haters, and like I
I'm
said, to
sorry.
them
I
it's a
know.
religion.
I'm letting you guide this conversation, Mary, because I probably don't know. I probably would drive it into the tank pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
I find it hilarious. Like, what's funny about me, because I do so many different things. I don't look like, yeah, I play guitar. I'm not the greatest guitarist, but I can play, right?
Yeah, I
I
like your
play
bass line.
classical guitar, right?
Yeah,
I've come
yeah.
up with my own songs. I do
Well, yeah,
music production. Now I've done some. I've learned electronics pretty well.
yeah,
I do motorcycling, softball. Like I work on engines. I've rebuilt engines when I was 19 years old. I was rebuilding like engines, so I'm very mechanical. But the thing is I'm kind of very much autodidact, where I'm self-educated. I don't believe in the credentialed class. I don't believe like, oh, well, you're an MD, and therefore, like, there's a lot of educated scientific people that said you had to wear a mask and you'd be arrested or you'd lose your job, and it turns out the science is bullshit. So there's many
Yeah.
times I've learned
And
in,
now
and that comes, wait a minute, that comes
okay.
to music too. Let me express this
Okay.
completely here, this thought,
Yeah.
because you have gatekeepers in music that think the same thing, that you have to go to school for music. You have to look. Bottom line is this: is music is taste. The only thing that's wrong is what you perceive through your ear. If you hit a wrong note and it's a wrong note, well, then you can change it. But some other people may find that note pleasing. I'll give you an example. I made a song called Shadow and Light of the Woods, and I had a little bit of a wrong note on the keyboard that was very dissonant. And it
Mhm.
seemed very dissonant. And what I did is I redid part of the song. I'd run it past my buddy Thomas, and he said, "Oh, you changed that?" And he goes, "No, I like the other opening. There was a very
Mhm.
dissonant quality to that note." So I actually
Yeah.
reversed what I changed, and I left that little mistake in there
Well, can
because
I
it was
just
pleasing to someone else.
well, I do a lot of I did a cover for a fan that called me. Thank you for calling me. Wanted me to do Sweet Leaf, and I also added After Forever, second song. They're both back-to-back songs on Master of Reality, 1971. And I was this close to putting a deliberately wrong note in the solo, one of my solos for that, which what I would have done if it were my song, but I didn't do it because I figured I don't want to. I'm doing this for Tony Iommi. Let's just do him. But for me, I like Jimi Hendrix did that a lot. Like you think you like Jimi Hendrix, well then you like all those notes because he played notes that didn't belong in the scale all the friggin' time, and he got away with it because everybody liked the way it sounded.
Well, there should be 100. Hopefully, people see us what we're doing and go, "Okay, these guys are a little kooky and everything," but they're doing what they're living the life. They're living the crazy life, la vida
See, I'm not
loca,
living.
right?
You don't have a case there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I do me.
And
I'm
people
not waiting for
just do.
tomorrow.
You know what? Here, bottom line is, we're all going to be dead in about maybe 20, 30 years, and no one's going to give a fuck. Okay, all the shit, you can't take the shit with you. So it's
Yeah,
all what you do and what you create. Bring something in the world, for better or for worse. Bring it in,
we're doing
create
something.
it,
We're putting
and through
something
the
out
act
there.
of creation, it gives meaning to your life.
Yeah.
And you do what you like. Like, let's segue into the pedal, for instance. A lot of
Yeah.
people are comparing the pedal. Look, the pedal started from a concept where we were using recording of distortion. I was unhappy with the quality of distortion I was getting from the pedals that you and I were using. So what I said is, well, let me try and make a pedal. And I did. And of course, with me, that led down a rabbit hole. The bottom line
Herpes.
is I stuck to a philosophy: do what you like. And if you do what you like, chances are
Someone
other
else will like
people
it.
will like it. Now, you're not guaranteed 100%, but again,
No.
going back to it, no one loved Bowie. There was 100. There's people that hated Bowie. There's people that
Yeah.
hate Bono. There's people that hate. Doesn't matter how good your music is. You're going to have a certain portion of them that don't
Well,
like
here's
it.
an doctor.
Yeah,
They hate there's people that hate Donald Trump. He just got his ear blown off. I mean, and some of
yeah,
you worship him, but somebody doesn't because he got his ear blown off.
yeah. So,
I don't care
but
who you are.
the whole point is, I designed a pedal that
Mhm.
I wanted. I wanted a full spectrum pedal, and there's a history to that because I was into car stereos about 20, 25 years ago, right? I was really, actually longer than that, like 30 years ago. I did a lot of electronics and car stereos and sound reinforcement, right? I bought a JBL. I went in back during then. You didn't have the internet, so I went and I read a book called JBL Loudspeaker Design. Right. So I learned about Thiel and small parameters, what transducers are, the frequency responses, the Ohm's law in regards to the efficiencies of amplifiers. It just goes on and on. I learned that at a very detailed level. Right. And I was always inspired by these Hyphonics amplifiers that they were rated from 2 hertz to 200,000 hertz. They were insane at the time because they had very, very low corner frequencies, right? So I took those ideas and said, you know what? I want to make a Hyphonics type rat pedal. And not only that, I want to make it extreme. I want to make it full spectrum and put filters around it, not just standard filters like the Metal Zone has standard kind of 12 dB filters in it. They don't cut that deep. So I wanted some that cut at 24 dB studio quality. So each knob has a studio quality, and I spent, believe it or not, on each one of those filters, a lot of my time spent on the pedal was actually designing Salon key filters. One Buttersworth, which is the response for the low end,
So,
and another Bessel response for the high end. A lot of lessons are learned, but ultimately I designed each one of those filters had a lot of design going into it. So for the layman, for the standard guitarist, I don't blame them because they don't get technically what's really going on. They don't kind of know what a studio quality filter is versus like they just look at it and they see knobs. That's it. Oh, this is a knob, or this is the same as this. But it's the same thing as anything that's handmade. Like if you look at a handmade Italian shoe, now you can go buy a Chinese shoe. Go buy it. It looks the same from the outside and all that. But people that have money, they end up buying higher quality handmade stuff. Right now, the downside sometimes to the handmade stuff is it can have a little bit more of a noise floor because it's not mass produced on certain PCBs. Now, the future version of the pedal is going to be on a 6-layer PCB. The noise floor will be lower. But let me talk about noise. The reason why noise, people go, oh, well, that has a hiss or that has a noise. Remember, Wendy Carlos, okay, one of the first like real transgender people out of the late or the 60s, early 70s, was a pioneer with synthesizer music. Okay. And you look, there's a video of her online on YouTube, and she explains how she makes a horn sound. And literally, part of that horn sound, you know what part of that horn sound is, Jimmy?
no, I don't.
Part of that horn sound she created, she couldn't create the horn sound with just a sine wave or a square wave. She actually had to use white noise as part
Mm,
of the mixture, part of the ingredient.
mhm.
So white noise actually made the sound more
That
natural.
you like. Yeah.
And so with analog circuits and especially distortion and high gain circuits, okay, you like the gain on the rat goes on my particular rat goes 160 times. Okay, when you turn anything up, I don't care where it is, you can be in your bedroom with a microphone. If you turn the volume all the way up, you're going to get artifacts. And what are artifacts? Artifacts can be RF in the room. Seriously, radio frequencies will go into your guitar cable and they will actually go into because your guitar cable is actually an antenna. I don't know if you know that it's shielded, but that's only so much shielding you can do because your guitar cable that's 20 feet has a capacitive element to it. It also has an RF or an antenna element to it, and it will actually pick up sound from the wall, from the hum. It'll pick up the 60 hertz hum because that's
I wish that's
actually
why.
an
I mean,
RF frequency coming off
can
of the wall plate. It's
I
being
interject?
picked up by the cable. Now, since you
Yeah.
have such a high gain circuit, you will hear that hum. Now, let me argue about the hum. The hum is in a lot of our recordings.
Mhm.
So think about that. It becomes part of our, what do you say,
Now,
part of the history of music. Just like distortion, just like anything else, people want to hear artifacts. That's part of the analog sound. Now, I will argue with people if they want such a clean noise floor, why are they using a pedal or analog? At a certain point, you go from a pedal to a DAW. At some point, you go, okay, I'm going to make this eventually you make whatever device you're using into a digital audio workstation. So to a certain point, I say, what are you doing? If you're trying to make the pedal into a DAW, just use the DAW. Why use a pedal? The pedal specifically has a purpose. It's
it has
mobile, you know.
artifacts. It has. It's human. It has continuous versus discrete, and
And
that's
again,
one of the.
again, We embrace mistakes. The 808 drum machine was literally a cheaper drum machine that was put out by Roland in the 80s. It literally had a flaw in the chip that people didn't figure out until it was released. It literally defined the drum beat of the 80s. A flawed chip, a chip that was never designed to be that way. Later on, they changed the chip to be more proper, but the original 808s with the flaw in the chip go for buku bucks now, all because of the flaw.
Yeah,
So
can I interject something?
in our music, in
Yeah,
our devices, you can't gatekeep. The people that come in and gatekeep that say you need to use a modeler or a rompler, look, all you're going to do, if you don't embrace mistakes, you're going to sound like everyone else. So, what I love
right.
about music and music theory, at the same time there's music theory, there's a big FU to the gatekeepers. There always is, because music has always been about a series of mistakes and amalgamations.
Yeah, and at least the Matterator and I are making a point in history. We're making our statement so that I
Well,
just
I
I'm not going to be
wanted to
dead.
come in and
Let
make
me
this statement because people are trying to gatekeep in the comments, and I don't
finish.
think they realize the level or depth of knowledge I have into music and electronics. They assume that for some reason, and in combination, that means we, that means you and me. They think they just laugh at the channel like we know nothing, right? And
Mm,
they couldn't be any more wrong. If they want to come in and debate me about electronics and music theory, and I guarantee you, in many ways, I will lay waste to them. In other areas, maybe I learned something. I'm not in such a way to where I'm like so arrogant. But see, I'm not the one also gatekeeping. I'm not literally the one saying Ed Sheeran is like, or I hate him. I don't really hate any type of music. The only thing I hate is I hate people that gatekeep. That's what I hate. I hate people that say you have to sound a certain way. That's who I hate. And that's what I hate about the music industry. People get to a certain level where they think they have to achieve something, and therefore you come in with a certain amount of experience and they start comparing credentials. And the way I like to see it is this: look, you may have 30 years experience, but is that 1 year times 30? In other words, did you do 1 year's experience and never experiencing anything new and just
well,
repeated that for 30 years?
one of the
And a lot
crossovers
of
was
arguments, that's what I hear. I hear a person that's played for 30 years, but really only learned the first year. They're so closed down in their mind, they don't have the philosophy of Shoshin. We've talked about Shoshin. Shoshin is a Japanese term called the mind of a beginner, which means no matter how good you get at something, always maintain the mind of a beginner. It's too easy when you get experienced to shoot things down or to think that there's a certain dogma or rule you have to go by. And honestly, because of that, that's why today I will argue all the music fucking sounds the same. And if you're using a modeler or a digital pedal, you're literally, when you put it on setting XYZ, you're literally
guaranteeing.
starting this now. Now I don't want to gatekeep on that either. Here's the thing: is when I create music, you can use canned stuff. It's just how you use it, right? I can um, I can put it on a certain loop or a certain function where a canned sound. I can modulate a little bit, like with my deep mind. I can make kind of a unique sound, but then the thing is, you always have to add dirt. And what is dirt? Dirt can be a certain amount of noise, an analog character, a mistake. Because if we aren't allowed to put mistakes into our music, then how are we any better than AI?
Mhm.
AI can be perfect. Human beings, we offer those flaws. So my argument is for you, your channel, is that we encourage people to embrace flaws. That means
Right.
Jimmie has flaws, Matterator has flaws, right? We all have flaws. But the difference is we're not going into comments. We're not attacking people for their flaws. The only flaw I would say there is if you gatekeep. If you gatekeep and you say things are monolithic or you have to sound a certain way or you're not tuned this way, I would say, okay, that's a flaw. And that's a fatal flaw because that's a flaw that literally is doing you damage to your art because you're going to have this little voice on your shoulder. You're going to have this little voice on your shoulder going, you're such a douche. Why are you doing that note? Instead of leaving in maybe some honesty in there,
Can I
leaving
comment?
in some of those
Can
flaws.
I
You know what
comment
I
a little
mean?
bit?
Yeah.
Can I comment a little bit? First of all, Mozart didn't go to college, Bach didn't go to college, and Beethoven didn't go to college. None of those composers that we love. College teaches us today how to sound like they did 200 years ago when they sounded like they did, but just being themselves. That no nobody. We now learn Bach, but Bach did him. We now worship Jimi Hendrix, but I try to do what he did, not what he did and doing his song, but doing what he did in his life. What he did with music, I'm trying to do. You may think I'm fucking up, but that's your right. But
I liked
you're not gonna stop me
yeah.
from doing that. You're not gonna stop me from doing me and doing what I believe Jimi Hendrix would have done today by just hating me. It's not gonna
Well,
happen.
I
43
liked
years.
what Bjork said about Iceland, you know. And as you know, I've been to Iceland and all that. Big fan of her and everything. And she had some great artistic tidbits. And one of the things she said about Iceland is Iceland embraced all this music from the world, right? And they brought it in, they listened to it through their own Icelandic lens. And then they went to go play their music and they misinterpreted what they heard in a beautiful way. Think about that. So if you do a cover of a song and you take what you hear and then you like they did that with punk rock with like the Sugar Cubes and they did a lot of like very avant-garde stuff, right? There's Sigur Rós, I believe is the name of and they're very creative for an island that's only about 300,000 people. Like it's amazing the amount of music and creativity. They're also the most well-read culture. They everyone there, almost everyone I think there has published a book. It's almost like a thing, right? So I like the artistic flair of Iceland. That's kind of like why I like to go visit. Um, but there's something to learn from that. You know, like you misinterpreting things, it isn't necessarily a bad thing because you're seeing it through your lens. But see, people on this channel look at misinterpretations as a mistake, but they don't understand. Just like Wendy Carlos made a horn sound, you need to make a good horn sound. You
You
need
know what?
white noise. You
The
need
part
dirt.
of the eruption, the tick of eruption by Mr. Eddie Van Halen that made it on the record. Van Halen, just called Van Halen, was he mistaked. He made a really big mistake on that take and never did it again. When you hear him any other time doing it live, but that mistake not only is on the record, but it's my favorite part of eruption. He
Yeah.
goes to play. I'm sorry to bore you, Matterator, but he goes to play a D Dorian in an A Dorian mode and he's up one half step by mistake. So he's technically playing an A sharp Dorian for that part. Then he realizes what he's doing and goes back to A, causing that disjunction between the two licks. And it's no one's ever done that lick ever, other than I do it because Eddie did it. But that lick stands in time as a unique piece of work that
Yeah.
was because of a mistake that we now revere from the second greatest, perhaps rock guitarist that ever lived. When to him that was a mistake, he was on the wrong fret for
Yeah,
like a
well,
second.
remember, as human beings, we're reason why music makes sense to us is we're pattern recognition machines. So when you do a pattern, there's a comfort level in patterns in music, right? So psychologically, that's important. So when you do like an A pattern and then you vary it a little bit, let's say you go into a B pattern, then you go back to the A pattern,
Well, we went to A
people
sharp.
recognize it and it gives a little kick of endorphin. When you go from one pattern and change the pattern, it can create dissonance. But then when you go back to the A pattern, there's a bit of a resolution. That's also why we have notes, and why whenever you start in a key, you usually need to end on a resolution note. So if you start on C, typically by the end of the song, you need to end on a C. If you leave the C open, it ends up being unresolved. So I ask you, why is it that way? Well, it's that way because as human beings, we find relief in patterns. You know, just like Jimmie, you find relief in the routines you do, whether it's walking
I
down
do.
the street, your routines in your daily life. People are the same way with patterns. So when people go to create, I would encourage them, and I may do a few videos maybe coming up on pattern recognition and but you sorry, I had a phone call coming in. You want to bring a pattern in, and then sometimes you vary the pattern. A good example of that is "Friends Are Electric" by uh, "Friends Are Electric" by what's his name, Gary Newman. Are you there?
Yeah, I kind of got to go. My wife needs my help.
Oh, okay.
Make
Friends
her
Are
some.
Electric by Gary Newman. He actually took two separate songs and ended up marrying them together.
Mm.
But anyway, so that's our rant. Oh, by the way, Bjork is actually, we say Bjork in English, but her name is actually Björk, and Björk. That's what they say it, and but they say it with more of an accent in Iceland, and it stands for birch tree. Because in Iceland, just like Indians, they would name people after things like the moon or trees or what have you. It's very interesting, their culture.
Okay.
Anyways, all right, take it easy. All right,
Here's later. Keep
all
up rock
right.
and roll. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.